What up? What up? It's your boy Conserviz34, and wow, Dave Matthews Band is back. They are back, and it. This show, wow. I mean, they came back and they came to play. They came to entertain. They were practicing over the break. It's clear to tell, clear to see that here. If you guys are tuning in for the first time, this is your boy Conserviz34. I am a Dave Matthews Band fan. I've been a fanatic since 2012, been a fan of the band since the mid 2000s. Live here in central Connecticut, where growing up, even um, as early as middle school, always knew about how epic the weekends were here in Hartford, Connecticut. But we want to talk about this show, and I'm hoping if everything works tech wise, we're going to look to get on one of my friends who went to the show, and he was at the show. His name is John Dix, and we're gonna, hopefully, if everything works, his Wi-Fi is on point, or his 4G, 5G LTE works, we'll get him on here. And now there's a lot to kind of dissect and go over, especially after this long break. But I wrote down some notes and I had the almanac up, but the almanac actually crashed. So it's I'm pulling up Ants Marching right now to take a look at the set list. And the first thing that sticks out to me, just from a guy who loves the data from the band, who loves the album rotations and show flows, is this is the latest I've ever seen. I guess the latest you could technically have a Big Whiskey and the Grugux King song be played, because it's literally the last song, which is Why I Am. Prior to that, no other Big Whiskey. And that's also symbolic to how the band played today. Now, there was a show from Mansfield, Massachusetts in 2019. I think it was June 21st, 2019, where Why I Am, ironically, was the second to last song. As I pull up here from the archives, yep. So they had Why I Am, Why I Am and You and Me were the second to last and third to last songs before they closed out with Gray Street, songs 17 and 18. Other than that, I've never seen Big Whiskey debut in a set list that late. But going back to this, the thing about Big Whiskey, and I've only seen the band after Big Whiskey, but the thing about Big Whiskey is since that album came out, since Roy passed away, you've had what I call the Tim C. DC effect, which to me, regardless of what songs they play, and as much as talented as Tim is, the mix has not been right. They've done things to improve it. There's some shows better than others. The acoustic two sets was awesome in just the sense that you got to have Dave's guitar actually be heard. I heard Dave's guitar better in the Sirius XM mix. Shout out to the folks there, and also shout out to the crew for the band. I heard Dave better than I've heard him probably ever again in my diehard fandom, 2012 to present. And we heard Stefan, we heard Buddy. You could hear Buddy's piano. I always say, people say, "Oh, I like Butch better." Well, you could hear Butch, right? Listening back to those, the era where Butch was a part of this band, you heard his piano because no one was playing over the piano, and he had subtle fills, but Dave he was complimenting Dave. I heard Buddy's piano, not the organ. Obviously, you can hear the organ, but Buddy on piano is just, to me, that's where he belongs for 99% of this band's set list, is on piano. The piano complements the acoustic guitar. And when you have Rashawn, who wasn't as absurdly loud in this, and you have Tim, who was not absurdly loud, whipping out the Gibson SG, like my buddy Derek Trucks plays with Tedeschi Trucks Band. There was just a balance. Jennifer H. You said if I took one song away from tonight, if I could take, are you talking about if I could take it away? If I could take one song away, it probably would be Louisiana Bayou. That's probably the song that I would take away. Or do you remember? But see, do you actually not? Do you remember? As much as I'm not a fan of the song, I feel like after the road testing of it and after hearing it so much, I don't want to hear it. It sounds good. So I would say Louisiana Bayou. And that's just because that song to me. Oh, one song that made you special. Okay, so one song that's special. So I would say it's actually a good question. The jam and sweet was just that. I mean, to me, that's what comes first to mind. Is that jam and sweet, because that is exactly what I want from the band. If as far as it doesn't, that's the whole idea of okay, Sweet's a good song, but it's not a song you're like people like, yeah, we got to hear this every night. But that's what DMB at its current where it is right now is. Sweet is where you could say, you know what, I don't want to hear that song per se, but you know what, it sounded so great. It sounded amazing. It was jazzy. To me, jazzy DMB is the best DMB. To me. And that's what you got from Sweet. And I've never disliked the song Sweet. And actually, I heard it acoustically. This was back in 15, my first pit show, where actually Branford Marsalis was guesting. We'll get to him in a second. But he was guesting on that show. But that was before he came out. It was acoustic. They played it acoustically, and it was just amazing. But that's the song where you're like, okay, this is why we go to DMB shows. For moments like this, for jams like this. In Sweet, it just, everything was perfect about it. When we look at the new song, Walk Around the Moon, I still need to hear it more before I get a verdict. But Walk Around the Moon is exactly what I want from this band when they're saying, here's a new song, Concert Viz 34. Look, it's not the Stone. It's not, it's not Crazy Easy. It's not what what made you fall in love with the band. But this is where we're at. Take this song for what it is and digest it. And the reason I say that is Walk Around the Moon is acoustic based. The acoustic portions of that song combined with what everyone else contributes into that is what I want. Same thing with Ocean and the Butterfly, which we heard Dave solo during the pandemic. You hear a wonderful sax, and maybe I'll have to check with if I can get John on the line, and I'm waiting for him to be able to get to a good connection here. But it sounded like it didn't. For some reason, I thought maybe Branford came back on, but it sounds like Jeff was playing that. It was so soulful, and a lot of times, not to say Jeff isn't. I mean, I will never criticize Jeff as far as harshly, because he took over this band when there was a need for this saxophone, and he came in and did his thing. He plays different than Roy and Branford, but the thing is, his sax playing, if that was truly him, and again, I wasn't there, but if that was him on Ocean and the Butterfly, that's exactly what, I mean, that was perfect. It was a perfect sax, jazzy and smooth, and that's what I want from this band. Yeah, and Kill the Preacher, Into Why I Am, it actually was a very nice, like, you're like, oh yeah, PNP Rapunzel, they end on that all the time. Nope, they continue with Kill the Preacher, Into Why I Am. I thought, that was a great thing here to see. So I agree. It was nice to have that. And again, when you have a Big Whiskey song debut at the end, you're in for a surprise. You're so used to getting something Big Whiskey mad early, or they have two or three, and they play it a lot since since it's came out, it's been a heavy hitter when you look at how many songs per album are played. But it definitely worked. And just to talk about the opener, 41 was, I mean, listen, this is just my personal feeling. I did not want them to open up with Hello Again because A, it's too cliche. B, the song doesn't reference or it's not linear to what's been going on with the pandemic. Yes, it says Hello Again, but that's where, the comparisons to what we've been going through ends. That's it, right? Right? I think it's a something about 10 long years, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not what we're going through. So I love that 41 opened. I mean, Granny was what I thought would be the most realistic opener, and it went second. And Granny's a great, second spot song. So, in full disclosure, I have not heard the full 41. I actually had a prior engagement. So I don't know, but someone did mention he messed it up. I'll have to listen back to that. And the comment I was going to make, they took it down off of a forum because it was kind of like someone was trying to criticize, someone was like, oh, Dave messed up. And, it's kind of like, not, who cares? But the thing I say is when the band messes up, when they're vulnerable, when they improvise, that's when they're at their best. And we got a third verse, Gray Street with the third verse in the 3 spot. I thought that was wonderful to get that there. And I know Mike said, oh, he messed up the verse at the beginning. Okay. Oh, John is here. We got to get him on. Forget about me. I wasn't there. John was there. Here. Mike says, good first show back. A couple of mistakes for sure. Serious stream. Mix was not great. I thought, like I said, to me, my biggest thing is I could hear the acoustic guitar, but hey, man, that's your opinion. And yeah, mistakes for sure. But the band always has to build up to, they have to build up to, and that's just every tour. They have to build up to get things sharpened. They've had some time off. John, let me see. I'm going to send you the link. I'm going to link you and see if you can join us. And one thing I pointed out, I heard this, I want to say I heard this on DMB radio. But one of the things that when we look at Mr. Marsalis, who I know from the Grateful Dead, he had a legendary show with them at the Nassau Coliseum. And that was really the first time we see a jazzy saxophone player like Mr. Marsalis and like Roy Moore was, rest in peace. You have a jazzy saxophone player playing with a jam band. And DMB is not a jam band, but it's the same idea that they kind of have. It's a jam band with rock and kind of a different vibe. And, Branford was literally, when he went on the stage with the Grateful Dead at the Nassau Coliseum, it was history in the making. But even before that was a live history in the making, right? He did Eyes of the World and has had some other covers with Dead and Company and various variations of Grateful Dead bands. And but he is the without him, we don't have Leroy Moore playing in rock or whatever you want to call DMB, right? Because Sting had Branford on Nothing Like the Sun, and that was what Roy listened to then learn how to play with Mr. Dave Matthews, right? Other than that, he probably would have been playing jazz or funk or soul or something on that end without that. And that's why it's full circle for him to come back. He's been in North Carolina to guest. I saw my first pit show in 2015. He played Lover Laid Down and Spaceman. And it's just, he is the same. He comes from that same type of playing that Leroy Moore, just the soulful, smooth. You don't need to go to Berklee School of Music. He just plays from his soul. And Mr. Marsalis comes from a talented family. Rest in peace to his father, who recently passed and was the leader of that family. That was it, the patriarch of the Marsalis family. Wynton Marsalis has come here to Connecticut and performed. And actually, one of my music teachers, I believe, met him as well. And he's a trumpet player. But it was now, yeah, with Branford, he didn't do anything out of the ordinary, right? He played on, what was it? He played on Lover Laid Down and What Would You Say? But it's just the fact you're getting a taste of what Leroy Moore brought to the band in 2021. But he's a talented player, and Jeff is too. I don't want to minimize Jeff, but Jeff is a different type of player. And Jeff, he never tries to be Leroy. He tries to take parts of what Roy did so that it's still, the music is still, in a certain format, but he's a different style of player than Mr. Marsalis or Roy Moore. And also shout out to Ari for getting, they had a lot of extra content today. I need to listen. Hopefully I can listen back to it. Because I was actually in the middle of doing something at my church where, ironically, another special thing today is I work with the young adults and the youth from ages 2 to 18. And we actually had a get together for the first time, a Bible camp type thing. And that's why I missed the pre-show and for most of 41. Let me see if John, let me know if you can. And thank you guys for staying up this late. I see there's 19 people. I think there was 21. I do these typically every Saturday. I'm doing this Friday because this is the debut. I'm going to be on Saturday, hopefully after the show again, to try to get someone on here. But John, if you can hear me, John, let me know if you're having connection issues. I know you're all you have is a cell phone and your earpods. All right, let's see. Uh-oh. Wait, I'm getting an update from John here. Let's see. Oh, the link's not working. Okay, let's try this again. And we definitely would love to get him on. And as we're waiting for John to connect, here's my thing here is for this touring season, there's a couple things that I've kind of how I've shifted throughout the pandemic. First off, I will have my opinions about set lists, but that's not as primary, especially when I'm at the show. Man, the number one thing right now is I can't wait to meet people this summer and catch up and go to shows with people I've been to shows with, and some people will be my first show with them. That's number one. While I have opinions about the band, I'm more at peace that, look, the band is going to do what it's going to do. I can have my opinions. I'll share them. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat, but the band's going to do what they're going to do. And that's okay. Right. But it seems like after today's show, they're making strides to tighten certain things up, change some things, experiment. And those are all great things. Let me see if he can get on. Trying to get him the link to. And see if we can connect him. But I'm glad everyone who got to go to this first show got to go. And it just seemed like this was from looking at some of the social media reactions of people I know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I mean, people who were there, it just was a magical thing. And to be back Um, me personally, I thought about going to the show, or to Charlotte. I personally wanted to make sure, and the most important thing for this, for me, for this tour, is it's not necessarily going to the opener, but to go to the certain shows like the Gorge shows. I requested a Madison Square Garden night 2 ticket, the 2 Mohegan shows. But the Gorge is the main thing. That's what I wanted to go back to as I reflected in the last couple of months. I wasn't sure initially, but I'm like, I need to be at the Gorge. I need to be at the Gorge, point blank, period. Um, Wanted to be there and then catch the Mohegan shows. It's, to me, it's more about the quality of the shows, that I definitely wanted to do, where, okay, these are 2 nights in a row in Connecticut. Here are 3 nights at the Gorge. I wasn't necessarily worried about getting out right away. In the set list, listen, the show, I don't regret missing this show. I mean, if this show was closer, or if I would have been able to go, I know it would have been just a magical experience. But this is something where if you went, you had this. This was the first moment back from the band. For some people, that's can't miss, and I understand that. But to me, it was nice just to have the audio and see, okay, this is the tone they're setting for 2021. I can wait until they get to my city. I'm still excited, but I can wait for them to get to my city. And I'm waiting to see if, like I said, appreciate your patience. We're working with John, who's, on the road, leaving a concert, and trying to get this link to work here. One of these days, I'll go to a tour opener for sure. The Mohegan shows were supposed to be the tour opener, and they got moved. And then the Mohegan shows it was supposed to be the tour closer, and then they added MSG. But I think that, this is definitely something, if you were at the show or you were watching like me and you're a D&B fan, this show gave hope. It's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out. I mean, you have, again, looking what you got from the show was fulfilling. If you look at it on paper, if someone sent you this set list, you would still see some great moments. But if you didn't hear the show, you may have been like, okay, where's the Stone? Where is Sugar Will? Where's Sweet Up and Down? There's not really, on paper, this show doesn't have a, oh wow, that song was Liberty. I know Hello Again is, something some people wanted, but I mean, that was played when I went to SPAC in 18. I mean, still a rarer song, but it's not a Sugar Will. It's not a break free. It's not a break for it. But I mean, again, taking away the set list and listening to this show, I have a different feeling of being able to listen to this show, because of how the band sounded. See if John looks like he's trying to connect here. We would love to get him on. Fingers crossed. I thought, also looking at the poster for the show, the poster it wasn't a grail or something like a must have. I thought it was cool. Again, not being at the show was like, oh man, I wish I was there to get the poster, but I know that it did. The poster sold out. You had a lot of people, a lot of hardcore fans that came here because of the pandemic and said, look, I want to be at the first show back, and the poster sold out. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this Live Nation app, where you can purchase it on there. For years, you've been able to have the warehouse, where you can purchase on the warehouse, and but that's only if you had warehouse tickets. where now that Live Nation, you can buy T-shirts, you could buy any merch in advance and then pick it up at the stand. So we'll see what happens, because I don't know what percentage of the posters you could actually purchase in advance and pick up versus if some of them they kept for people who were actually there, how they control that as well, on how many are reserved for people who are physically there in line and how many people are on their way on the app to pick up. So it'll be interesting to see on that end. But they're definitely doing things to make it contactless. These venues don't have cash. These venues are cashless now for Live Nation with the pandemic. And there's just an overall coin shortage right before the pandemic that has continued through. So trying to see, and thank you guys for your patience. Just trying to see if we can get John connected to the stream from the streets of Skreets, the streets of Raleigh, North Carolina. He'll be at Charlotte tomorrow as well. So many other DMB fans doing the North Carolina two-step. There was a Texas two-step where they would go to Houston, and then Dallas and Houston. And Woodlands is just the northern suburbs of Houston. And they would have that. Sometimes they would do San Antonio a couple of times in the mix of that as well. But the North Carolina shows happen to just be where they were figured out they could get things back good to go. So let's see. Any other, let's see, let me get back to the chat. So Kaylee Connor says, what do you think the set list will look like tomorrow? Probably a different opener. Maybe you have some songs like Seek Up. Maybe they throw that in. Oh, the data is, oh, you can't get the data. Let me know, John, if not. Yeah, let me see. I'm going to try to put John on speaker. So we'll try to get some audio here.
Good evening, sir.
All right. How you doing?
Doing good. Sitting in this parking lot, standstill traffic, not moving.
All right. Let me see if we can. Can you guys hear John? John, start talking.
Yes, sir. 1 2 1 2.
Can you guys hear John? Okay, they can hear you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you're at the show in traffic. What's your initial reaction to being at the show?
It was great. It was good to be back with friends and family. It felt like time had not even passed. It felt like we were just together yesterday. I mean, that huge gap of time just evaporated once we got in the lots and saw everybody. Actually, when I got off the plane, it was really crazy because I flew in from Nashville, and I say half of the flight was going to the show tonight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. So it was it's been pretty epic since the time I got to the airport this morning at like 7:00.
That's awesome. That's funny you say that, because not to flex on here myself, but when I went to a Knicks playoff game in May, that's exactly how it felt. This was my first, the full section was full, and I'm back in an arena now. It's for sports, not concerts, but it was like I never left. So that's funny you say that. Now, what did you think of of the set from 41
So
to Why I Am?
the 41 opener was a great opener. I mean, no one called that. Everybody was expecting Hello Again, even though they put that in the set. I was happy with the 41 opener. And then the second song was, refresh my memory, what was the second song?
Granny.
Then we had that Granny, which was pretty good, solid Granny. And then we got that Gray Street with the third verse.
It was like, you would have thought somebody hit a goal the way the crowd reacted.
The crowd went crazy on that third, when they played that third verse. Like, it was like, people were self-aware. Like, it was a very smart crowd. Everyone was self-aware when they played that third verse. Like, hey, this is something special. It wasn't like no one like, what is that or what's going on? Like, people were aware. Like, the crowd got loud when he went into the third verse.
Now, one question I had when I listened to it on Sirius XM, you hear when he starts the third verse, you hear the crowd erupt, and then it kind of faded down like they were trying to listen to the third verse. Was that how it was live, or was it just continual cheer throughout the third verse?
I feel like it was a continual cheer. I think that could have been just the mixing of the XM broadcast, but it was pretty raucous for the majority of those songs. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure. That definitely helps us out, us people at home, not at the show, because I was like, I don't know. And I know a lot of times with the live shows, like you go to like a basketball game, they'll have the crowd float in a little more. You'll hear something up close, and they cut that mic off. So that's interesting that it was a full blast throughout that there. So now, what'd you think about song 4, which was Walk Around the Moon?
It didn't really move me. I mean, it wasn't a bad song, but it really didn't move me east or west. I thought it was just another. It sounded like a Come Tomorrow B-side or a throwaway to me.
Interesting. Now, one of the things that I liked about that song, listening on Sirius XM, is it sounded like the song was like almost like Black and Bluebird in the sense that the acoustic guitar was the focal point. There wasn't like, oh, we need a bunch of horn, we need a bunch of electric guitar. How did it sound live as far as the mix of that song? Did it sound more acoustic based? Does it?
In the beginning, I would say yeah, but then when they got into like the jam part of it, I could hear Tim Moore in it.
Okay,
but it wasn't like overloaded with sound though. But it's still a song in its infancy, so by the time we get to Gorge, it can be something totally different.
All right, yeah, no, that's true. Is that it's the first play. Now we're gonna skip to song number 9 was Sweet. What did you think about the Sweet and the jam? Because that was, to me, that was a moment where I said earlier in the stream where I think that was the song, listening to it from my home, I was like, this is the moment of the show. This is what the DMB came back, and this is a new edition of what they can do.
I really enjoyed Sweet. I actually called it before they played it. I called a few songs actually, but I really I enjoyed the Sweet. And what I liked the most about it was Dave's voice was really fresh on this night 1 of the tour. I'm not sure how that's going to sound in September and November, but tonight it sounded really good and fresh.
That's awesome. And speaking of voices, what did you think about Buddy Strong's vocals in some of the songs? Did it seem the same there? Did it seem like he may have added a little extra kind of jazz or extra vocally in this show compared to the 2019? Or
no, Buddy pretty much showed up and did what Buddy does. He was on the church organ a lot, and he was doing the backing vocals on "Stay" and he had that little part in "Every Day." But Buddy was pretty much par for the course. It was a solid show. Like, nothing about the show other than like the third verse really stood out to me as wow, something is like, that's not extraordinary going on. But it was just a really good, high energy show.
And
they played a lot of bangers. They played a lot of classic songs. We got Nancy's, we got the Warehouse Stop Time intro. We got the Gray Street third verse. We got the Sweet. So overall, it was a solid show.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about as well. I don't know if you caught that. Is I was saying that if I looked at this set on paper, I would have been like, it looks like a run of the mill show. But when I heard it on Sirius XM, to me, it felt like the mix overall was just better. As far as I could hear Buddy's piano a little more, I could hear Dave's guitar. It sounded like Tim was a little more turned down. Rashawn wasn't spazzing out like he did in his post Roy era. What did you think about the overall mix? Did it seem like there was more of a balance than the last tour?
I think so, just because of the practicing. Because one thing I did notice was like Tim was like doing a lot more fills like he used to like in '98, and he wasn't just playing like on top of Dave. So you really hear Dave's guitar more. And then you have to look at the songs they selected to play too, like "Lover Lay Down" and "What Will You Say," songs that really feature Dave's guitar.
Right.
So I think they picked the right songs as well. Like they didn't play a bunch of "Come Tomorrow," "No Away from the World" that I can think of, and then they played "Sweet." But yeah, there was nothing that was just like the heavy stuff like Tim would play on, other than "Why I Am" and things like that. But I feel like they picked a good set for a good mix.
Absolutely. And that's actually what we were talking about as well when I first came on. This is the latest that a Big Whiskey song has ever been played. Obviously, it's the last song of the show. The closest that I remember was being in 2019 in Mansfield, Connecticut. Mansfield, Mass. Mansfield, Mass. The last song was Gray Street, but before that was Why I Am and You and Me. But that was the latest I ever remember two Big Whiskey songs, but this is the latest it could possibly be. And one of the things I was saying is that one of the message of tonight was, all right, we're not playing Big Whiskey out like we pretty much have done since it came out. There's been at least, one or two songs minimum, if not more, and we're balancing out the sound. That's how I felt. It was like the message of as far as the mix of what they played. So.
One thing DMB did tonight that they haven't done ever?
What's that?
They sent out an email like 2 days ago saying, "Hey guys, the show, be there by 7:30. The show's gonna start." They were not effing around. The show started like at 7:45. They came out at 7:45 tonight.
Wow. So
yeah, we were all like, "Oh, shit."
Yeah. So yeah, then I thought they weren't gonna come out to like 8:30, 8:35 like usual. 7:45, they were out there jamming.
I thought it was giving just a hello.
Yeah, so they're not there. So the shows are starting about 45 minutes earlier than they have in the past.
Wow. So it was about 7:45. Were you at your seat, or do you?
I was. D wasn't though.
Where I was supposed to be.
But yeah, because everybody went in early because everybody was kind of paranoid. All people in my group were like, "Hey, they say the show's going to start early," and I was one of the people like, "Nah, they're just saying that. They're not going to start early." But hey, they started at 7:45.
Wow, that's a huge, because usually it's about.
Which is great because we were out of the show by 11.
Oh, I agree. I love shows that start earlier, and some other bands, I know they start a little bit earlier, and it's nice. It's nice when it starts and it ends, and I know they got to sell liquor, and sometimes they got to, the crowds come late, but I'd rather have it start earlier. So that's a definitely a good point there, and I hope that they will continue that trend, because I do like.
I know for the next two shows they're going to be at 7. They have 7:30 on the ticket. So just anyone who's going to shows, like shows are starting earlier than typical. They typically do.
Good to know. And we want to get a little bit into as far as being back with the pandemic. Were there any sort of checks as far as COVID tests, masks?
None, not one. Everybody was passing drinks, passing this and that. It was no restrictions. Nobody was even conscious of COVID.
I got one mask.
I didn't see any mask. I was not. Everybody was just being free, having a good time, and we're back 100%. So I heard a couple, negative Nancy saying that, like, they don't think the tour is gonna, go all the way because of things are ramping back up. But I disagree. I think that this tour is gonna go all the way to MSG without a hitch. I
really hope that I hope that the band does not pull a Foo Fighters, where if somebody gets a positive, COVID test, but nobody is hospitalized, I hope that they continue the tour versus what Foo Fighters did. Abundance of caution. Nobody was hospitalized, but they shut down an LA show. Like imagine SPAC or the Forum or SPAC or Gorge, like them taking one show away from those venues because of a positive test, not a hospitalization. I'm that's my biggest hope. I've tried to stay away from that because I was wrong, right? I'll say on the air I was wrong. I said there was going to be no shows until at least the winter of 2021 at best. I was wrong. We're back, and I don't want to mess up whatever juju is going.
1,000 feet. Turn right.
So, shout out to the GPS thing. And also with the show, were concessions, was there any outside of cashless, right, where you pay with the card? Was there were any concessions shut down? Was there any sort of?
Nope.
Okay.
No, everything was normal other than there was just no cash. They had a merch tent outside, and they only had like 10 posters. There was 100 foils in the wild tonight of the poster. Those went pretty quickly. I got 2 posters of the Flames. I'll probably pick up that tour poster, probably like Gorge or MSG. I'm not in a rush to get the tour poster.
Right.
But I did manage to get 2 of the Flames posters tonight, and I'll probably flip one tomorrow.
Okay. For face value, right?
Poster.
Since we're on the air, for face value.
Negative. Oh, we can do a trade for tomorrow. One or the other.
I'm just messing with you. And then let's see. Any other observations? Any other thoughts as far as being at the show?
Man, it was a good time, man. It was very high energy. I like that they did the thank you interlude during the So Damn Lucky Jam with the fans, and Carter and Rashawn was like urging us on to saying thank you. So that was really cool. And they had fun with that, and everything went really well, man. It was a really good show, very solid show. My only concern is that I'm going to get Jimmy thing tomorrow, and don't drink the water. I feel like I'm due for those tomorrow. So,
wow.
I mean, it's going to happen. So, I'm doing the first 3 shows, so I'm bound to get both of them between now and Tuesday.
I just realized, and Richard actually says, I wish they played the Stone. I just realized that they did not play Don't Drink the Water or Jimmy Thing. And that's what, that's just the subtraction of those 2 songs, even though they didn't play a Sugar Will or Break for It, it makes a huge difference to me.
Yeah, you already had, you only had really 1 turd song in this, 2 turd songs in this set, which were Do You Remember and Bayou. Those are only 2.
Those are my 2. Those are the 2. Yeah, those are the 2 that I picked out to say. Yeah, those are the. Yeah, that's true. Is that? But it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And yeah, it's thank you so much for calling in and giving us some live reaction. And definitely we got a larger crowd than normal. And I thank everyone for being on. Let me just see. I'm going to keep you on the line, John. Let's see. Let's look at some of the comments. Someone mentioned that's why you don't pay, $2,000 for the first show. They have to get their tour legs back. That was some of my logic on why I didn't go.
Pay $2,000? Who paid $2,000 on the show?
I think it's an exaggeration.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean the ticket prices. The pit was $1,000. Like the resale, Ticketmaster.
Oh, yeah.
They had. That's what's funny is they had. I looked this morning. They had pit tickets. Usually the pit's grayed out, right? But because of this resale, this Ticketmaster resale thing being pushed, you had these seats. It was a talk all this past week. It was 2,000. I think it was originally 2,000. It was like about 1,500 or something this morning. You could buy a pit ticket. But that's because they're just letting people resell more. So
yeah, man, everything sounded good. I had a great view of the stage and everything, and so it was a great night, man. I'm curious to see what tomorrow brings.
All right. Do you think you'd be able to hop on tomorrow?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back on Tuesday.
All right. Well. All right. Hey, well, John, we thank you so much. Is that D in the background as well?
Yeah, that's D driving the wheel. Yeah, she's
go
get some eat.
Well, we thank you guys so much, because this is, again, you're giving us information that we don't have, right? We're waiting for our first show, and this is huge. So, and shout out to the GPS too, getting you guys back safely. But thank you so much for calling in. We'll try to reach back out to you tomorrow, and definitely get some sleep. Safe travels from Raleigh to Charlotte. And like I said earlier, my aunt, if you get in trouble, my aunt, she's a magistrate out in Raleigh, Durham, but her jurisdiction does not go to Charlotte. So if you get in trouble, tomorrow, I can't help you. All right.
We're only smoking on that third verse pack. Okay. That's all I think we're smoking on that third verse pack. Okay.
All right. All right. We'll talk to you later. Take care, John.
All right, later, brother.
All right. Yeah. So special thanks to friend of the show, John Dix. Awesome to hear, again, a live reaction from a fan who was at the show. And that's what I hope to bring. If you are going to a show and you're interested in being on by phone, I can send you a link to your phone. Let me know, because it's cool to hear reactions of people who were there. One of the things I'm trying not to do is, when I'm not at a show, I'm going to still have, again, my opinions, but I want to try to get people who are just at the show. That's something you don't really see in the concert industry, because there's no one streaming after a show like this. And that's kind of what I want to try to bring to this DMB community. There's many great people that bring a lot of great things. DMB Almanac, the Corner of Gray Street podcast, antsmarching.org. You have some of the Facebook forums like DMB Family, and you have the warehouse forums. But I'm hoping that we can get people to come in. And thank you guys. It's 21 people. I mean, listen, I know there's a lot of things you could be doing right now. And I know it's with the pandemic, there's different things going on, but this is the largest stream I've had. And we have 21 people coming in. But definitely be on the lookout for tomorrow. I will put on Twitter, Conserviz34 on Twitter. Follow me. I will put out an alert when I'm getting ready to stream, and it's going to be based on when the concert ends, and again, having access to John when he's able to get to get his phone charged or get it ready to then so that we can connect. And again, if you're going to a show, message me, put something in the comments, post it, not on the stream chat, but put it in the real chat, and we'll try to see if we can get you on if I'm available, because there'll be some shows I'm going to, right? So I can't just stream right away. And there's other shows. I'm actually looking to go to Chris Stapleton next week. Chris Stapleton's first show in Guilford, New Hampshire on Wednesday is still in the works potentially. But thank you guys. Like I said, some new faces. It seems like some people you may be on Twitter. I just don't notice your YouTube page or post your name on YouTube. But thank you guys for tuning in. Again, check the Twitter, Instagram, Conserviz34, and subscribe if you can. Hit the notification bell if you're not subscribed, and then it'll let you know when I go live. But again, cannot thank you guys enough for the support. It's your boy Conserviz34 signing off. Peace.